Hey there, my sweet friends. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well. Happy Monday to everyone. We are going to continue working along in our October Stories album today. We're going to create the layouts for stories 4 through 6. And so all of these pictures are part of our fun little camping trip that we went on after the 13 Days of Halloween series. So if that sounds good to you, then stick around and we'll make them together. As I mentioned, we're going to start working on the layouts for stories 3 through 6. But before we start on that, I did want to take a second to share a couple of details that I've added to those first 3 layouts. I just felt like I wanted a little extra detail and a little bit of texture, and so I decided to add a page turner here. I just used my tiny attacher to add a little strip of ribbon. I did include some enamel dots. I don't always have these on hand because I use them too much to make them a good value to me, but I did have some that were included with a purchase online, so I decided that I would go ahead and add those. I've also included some pom-pom trim here, and I've attached it so that it will extend past the edge of my layout. Now you see what it was in the book. You can see that. And so I think this is really fun to add that texture and detail to the edge. I plan to do the same for the top. Eventually, when it makes sense in the layouts that I'm included, I did add a couple of those enamel dots to this layout as well. And then for this one, I've got some sequins. And so I just added them so that they would balance on either side of that focal image. And then I included a tabbed edge here with a sticker from that sticker sheet. And so I think I'm really gonna build a lot of detail along this edge. So that's really what I'm hoping to achieve. Now on to the layout. This is story number 4. And as I mentioned, we are empty nesters. And so every story that we have for this book is not going to be Halloween related. This happens to be a continuation of our camping trip that we took. Hubby decided to surprise me with a long weekend at the lake. And so this is just some additional pictures that go with that. The picture I have is of Hubby on the beach, and we really enjoy getting up early and walking along the beach for sunrise. And so I really wanted to capture that special kind of vibe you get when the sun is just coming up. And so here is that picture. Hubby is a silhouette in the background. And so really what I want to do is pick neutral patterns. There is some pattern here, but the contrast is very low, so it does not read as busy. And then I thought that wood grain pattern would also work very well for this nature-inspired picture. So I want to include a couple of these die cuts. I picked this pattern from a beach-themed paper pad, and so I know that it would go well with my nature pattern. And then I cut that with a hexagon die that had a stitched detail on the edge. And so I'm just going to add these before I place that picture on the page so that I can get those nice layers. And then this will go center on the left-hand side. And so I also want to include this pattern over here, and I also want to use this to sort of knock back some of that darker pattern so that we can brighten these pages up. So this is just a rectangle. And so this is just a rectangle cut from that same pattern. And then I'll finish this page off with another piece of that wood grain. And so now I can add some of those details. I've got my number for my story. And then I've also got another one of those stars. Someone asked in the comments if this was a die, but it is a set of stickers. I will link it in the description. This came from Amazon, and there's quite a few sheets of these. I've had to get an additional set just so that I would continue to have some of those larger stars, but I think for the value, it is definitely worth it. And so I did add that to a thicker cardstock and cut it back out as I am throughout the album so that I don't get the lumps from the different layers. And so I'm just going to place that into this corner, and that will anchor the left-hand side, and then I'll top it with my number for my story. And then for the top, I have another piece from that beach theme paper pad. This was a cut apart sheet, and I just clipped this down to be the size that I wanted. And so I'm going to add this very carefully so that I don't cover up my sunrise there in my picture. And then I've got one more star. I'm trying to create that balance between the top and the bottom. And then I've got a couple of sentiment strips here just from a previous collection that I was working with, but they did seem to work really well for my theme. So I'm just going to add one here on the corner of the photo, and then I'll drop the other one a little bit lower onto my die cut, and that's going to balance this side of the embellishing. And for this side, I have two more pictures. I put these in a collage here so that I could add them as one unit. I kept that nice white border showing around. And then I do have one more of those sentiments cut from that same image. And I'll just add this to the bottom. I've got my star sticker here for this corner. And then two more sentiment strips, and they can go up here. So let's put one onto the pattern paper and one onto the photo. I'm just going to position this to take advantage of that border that's already on the picture. So this is it for story 4. So we're going to start layout 5 now, and I wanted to make sure to keep on top of the offcuts I'm creating as I'm working along in this book. So I've taken that white wood grain pattern and I used it as the background. Now it does not cover the whole bottom, so I took the offcuts from story 2 and I'm just going to add that as a border along the bottom. And I also put a strip of that pretty glitter paper. So now I have a base to work with, and my idea for using this lighter color on the top was so that I could create kind of a banner effect using additional offcuts and some smaller photos. So I did take a couple of pictures here at the farm market, and so they had bins of pumpkins and flowers. So I wanted to include those and have it be sort of a banner shape. And then I'm also using more of those offcuts. So the first thing I want to do is kind of determine the shape of the banner. And so I'm going to place this first piece. This is my anchor piece, and that is the darkest pattern, and it is also the smallest pattern. And then I'll just go ahead and top that with my picture. And so you can see I'm kind of starting that swoop that I need at the top. Here's the heart pattern from that first layout. Then I've got some of the stripe as well. So you see I'm just building in all those layers, but I'm keeping the tops curved so that I can get that shape that I want. I've also picked a couple of the tickets from the Simple Stories collection. I think that will sort of fill in that edge and anchor the side of my banner. And then I'll fill in a couple of those spots here with more of the stickers. And so this is going to be the right hand side. So I've got an identical set of die cuts for this side and the same size picture here as well with those beautiful mums. And so I'm just going to hold this in position and continue that shape that I have started to develop. We've got another one with the hearts. One more stripe. One more ticket. I'm going to put 1 star on this side because I'm going to add my number sticker here to the bottom. So this gives this page the same amount of visual weight. And I'm just going to kind of add that over top of my glitter strip. So that's going to be it for story number 5. For story number 6, I'm just going to start with this background and all over white on orange pattern. And then I'm going to add this large doily to the center so that I can anchor a couple of smaller pictures. And so I have planned to add a black border shape on this side. I want to balance that by including some on this side as well. I don't have a circle die large enough to get as far out as I would like to fill in this arrangement. So I just used the largest one I had and then I cut it in half. So I can space it out this way, and the additional layers I add will cover the cut edge. So I have 2 small pictures for this layout. We went to a really beautiful apple orchard while we were on our camping trip. This is Price's Orchard in Newport. And so I wanted to include some pictures of this. We did get some cider and apples and some really good cookies. They had fresh made cookies there. I got molasses, and Tuck Hubby got a cowboy cookie, which has some raisins and walnuts and chocolate chips. And I offered Tuck Hubby a bite of my cookie so that I could sample his, but he did not feel like sharing. So I'm just going to pretend that mine was a better flavor anyway. And so that way I don't feel bad about not trying his. And this other picture is this beautiful German Shepherd dog that was walking around the property. And the person who came out of the building was calling him Pepper. I thought that was so funny because the army son and his wife just adopted a beautiful little tuxedo kitten and they named him Pepper. And so I thought that was a fun coincidence. So I'm just going to position these pictures a little bit closer to the outside edges. And then I'll use those layering elements I have planned for the center to cover the gravel of the parking lot. And then also the sky in this picture. I took this from inside the camper, and so I don't mind covering a little bit of that background. Here's a 2x2 image that I cut out, and then I also added a white border so that I could continue the same appearance that the photos do. And then I also have a sticker from that Simple Stories collection. I don't really need the top of this, so I'm just going to position that so that I can get that sentiment and then go ahead and add that to the center. Now you can see that we've covered those cut edges. A star sticker for this side to anchor the arrangement. And then another star for this side for balance. And then a sentiment strip as well, just to kind of brighten up this right-hand corner. So that's going to work for the left page. So I mentioned that I did have a black border I want to include on this page. And this is really intended to be an anchor point for the further layers I want to add. I cut this with my scalloped edge that I picked up from a lawn fawn. This is actually meant to be a Christmas scalloped edge to create a rooftop, and then it would have a chimney added. So I'm just going to use this to create a landing zone for my further layers. And so I've got that added, and I'll just clip off the excess. I wanted to incorporate quite a few pictures on this 2-page layout. So I'm going to add this envelope. This is a self-adhesive envelope from Scrapbook Adhesives. I'm going to use it as more of a pocket. And so I'm just lining the inside there with offcut of that white wood grain. And then it is self-adhesive on the back, so I can just position that right where I want it. And then the pictures I have for this layout are more from the Price's Orchard, and so they had a beautiful selection of uniquely shaped gourds, so much farming memorabilia on the walls. It was actually just a step in time to see all of those really cool old vintagey farm implements. And so they had it set up in such a way that we could get some beautiful pictures with the sunlight. And here was the center of the store. Isn't that something? I've never seen gourds like that. Very unique, and they had a ton of really nice fresh produce, so it really was like a farm market store. And then they had a really beautiful selection of canned items. There's jams and jellies and pickled green beans, which are some of my favorite things in the world. And so I got a picture of that as well. I actually taught myself how to screen capture from video. And you might remember in our Halloween giveaway, I shared a little bit of a video of our trip while we were away. And so these are some continuing pictures from that, and I took those directly from the video, so I'm really proud of myself for that. Now, there would be no other way to get 3 of these pictures on a layout without putting them in a pocket, and I think this pocket is going to be perfect for this layout because it doesn't take up too much room, and I can just slip my pictures in there, and they still show a little bit from the background. Maybe I put them this way so that we can see that really cool honey sign. Now, the intended use of this would be as an envelope, and it had some adhesive here on the top. I don't want to use that, but I also don't want to see it or have it stick to this page when I close up my inserts. So I just picked another one of the stickers from that Simple Stories sheet. I'm just going to cover that up, and that adds a little bit of detail to the pocket and saves my other layout. So to finish off this layout, I wanted to create a sticker cluster that ran along the bottom of this pocket. And so I went back into my numbers and I found my number for story 6, and that's going to anchor this right hand side. And then I'm just going to continue to add these stickers as I work along. And remember that I have added these to cardstock and cut them back out, so it won't have all of the lumps from the layers showing. So this is going to be a border at the bottom of my pocket. I'm going to tuck this in up here and then add the final sticker element. These are all just kind of working together to create a strip along the bottom. And then, of course, my final details are going to be a couple of those stars. I'm putting those here to anchor the left-hand side. Okay, that is it for story number 6. And I think so far this is going to be my favorite layout. I really love that pocket so that I can incorporate more pictures. And I had such a good time at that orchard, and I really wanted to capture that for my stories. So that's going to be it for today. We did our layouts for stories 4 through 6. Now we're going to be back on Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern to continue on for this series, and we'll work on stories 7 through 10. I have only one set of pages left for this insert. I'm so happy with the amount of bulk in this compared to last year's inserts, which became an issue because they were so many pages and they got really thick. So now I can add this to my cover, and then when I need to add another insert, I can use a separate piece of elastic to join them together, and then I can include this under one of the elastics in the cover. So that's going to be it for today. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments and give me a big thumbs up. You can find links in the description for our socials. And if you haven't already, I would love for you to subscribe and join my crafty little family. As always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye!